If the key to success isn't IQ, luck, or even raw talent, but rather the ability to read people as if they were open books, then you might already be holding one of the most overlooked treasures of our time, without even knowing it. Picture this. You walk into a room full of strangers. Most people would feel their heart quicken, searching for the safest corner to stand in or the first familiar face to latch onto. But you feel something else entirely. You sense the rhythm in the air. Every glance has a beat, every posture a melody. You can tell instantly who's quietly in control, who's hiding uncertainty, who's just waiting for the smallest invitation to open up. You don't guess. You don't overthink. You simply know when to speak, when to stay silent, and when to deliver the exact words that unlock trust. And you do it naturally in a way that makes the other person feel profoundly seen. Not only through eye contact, but through the power of your presence. That skill, the one that turns awkward introductions into effortless connection, isn't luck or magic. I call it social intelligence. And if you've never studied it, practiced it, or trained it with the same dedication you'd give to learning a language or mastering an instrument, then you're likely already falling behind, further than you think. We are living in an unprecedented age where algorithms can write essays, generate code, and even ace job interview questions. Yet amid billions of digital interactions, human beings are starving for connection. Because there's one thing no machine, no matter how advanced, can replicate: the ability to feel another human being, to hear hesitation buried inside a confident sentence, to catch the flicker of fear hiding under a polite smile, to respond not with a programmed script, but with authenticity, empathy, and presence. We've been raised in systems that glorify technical knowledge, test scores, and degrees. Metrics easy to measure, but poor at predicting genuine influence. In the real world, you can be the most knowledgeable person in the room and still be overlooked. You can work harder than anyone else and still fail to earn trust. You can have the best ideas and still watch them die in silence because you never learned to read people. Communication is rarely about the words themselves. It's about the unsaid. And it's the unsaid that governs trust, loyalty, and emotional connection. Now let's be clear, social intelligence is not the same as emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize and manage your own emotions, a vital inner compass. But social intelligence is outward-facing. It's the art of perceiving and navigating the emotions, motives, and intentions of others. It's in the subtle pauses, the shift in breathing, the fleeting eye movement. It's knowing when to lean forward, when to step back, when to speak to someone's heart rather than their ears. It's why some people command respect with a single glance, while others talk endlessly and still fail to connect. And here's the beautiful truth. This isn't an innate gift reserved for a chosen few. It's a skill, which means it can be learned, trained, and mastered until it becomes second nature. If you've ever felt overlooked in meetings, misunderstood in relationships, or disconnected from people you genuinely wanted to reach, the problem isn't your capability. It's that you haven't yet been shown the invisible rules that govern the social game. Over the course of this journey, we'll uncover those rules together. We'll decode human connection from the inside out, how to build trust from the first interaction, how to navigate awkward silences and tense conversations, how to handle unspoken conflicts at work or at home. You'll learn to hear what others don't say, respond in ways that open people up, and become someone others naturally want to collaborate with, follow, and confide in. You'll begin to recognize that every interaction is an emotional ecosystem, operating quietly beneath the surface. Once you can read that map, you'll never again have to rely on luck to connect or persuade. You'll stop second-guessing every conversation and start walking into them with grounded calm, confident you'll know what to do. This isn't about shallow communication tips or motivational cliches. This is about unlocking the most influential version of yourself, a version that's perceptive, grounded, and deeply attuned to the human beings around you. And once you begin to see the world this way, you won't be able to unsee it. Every handshake, every glance, every silence will carry signals you can detect and respond to, turning ordinary interactions into opportunities for deeper connection. Imagine what would happen if, starting today, you could enter any conversation, whether with a boss, a client, a partner, or a stranger, and make that person feel valued, safe, and understood. Imagine letting go of the constant anxiety about saying the wrong thing, replacing it with an unshakable presence. Imagine reading the room like a map and knowing exactly which path leads to influence, trust, and connection. If even the smallest spark of possibility lit up inside you as you pictured that, then stay with me, because what you're about to learn won't just change the way you communicate, it will change the way you live. For many of us, the belief that success belongs to the smartest in the room runs deep. We've been told that high IQ, flawless academic records, and natural eloquence are the passports to influence. But you've probably also seen so-called average people rise far beyond expectations, without prestigious degrees, without dazzling credentials. They walk into a room and something shifts. People gravitate toward them. They create trust, closeness, and collaboration almost instantly. And the source of that magic isn't IQ. It's the ability to read emotions, to navigate unspoken cues, to connect before they convince. Social intelligence is the art of understanding people without needing them to explain themselves. It's stepping into a conversation and sensing the emotional climate. It's recognizing the subtext beneath their words, a flicker of insecurity in their eyes, a shallow breath that betrays unease, a forced laugh masking discomfort, and most importantly, it's knowing how to respond in ways that build trust without showmanship. This isn't a mystical sixth sense gifted to a lucky few. It's a skill you can strengthen, just like a muscle. Every conversation is a workout. Every moment of patient listening, every instance where you observe instead of rush to speak, adds to your capacity. Neuroscience backs this up. Our brains aren't designed only for thinking, they're designed for connecting. We have mirror neurons that fire when we see someone smile, cry, or wince, allowing us to share in their emotional experience without a word. This is empathy at a biological level. But while we've spent decades teaching people to solve equations and write reports, very few of us have been trained to read people. No one told you how to spot disappointment hiding in a smile. No one taught you how to de-escalate tension in a meeting with just your presence. And because of this, many talented, hardworking people remain stuck, hitting invisible ceilings in their relationships and careers. The absence of social intelligence doesn't cause instant failure, but it does quietly limit your growth. It leaves you feeling like something is missing, though you can't name what. The good news? It's never too late to learn. You can train yourself to read the emotional current of a room before you speak. You can learn to soothe anxiety in others with nothing more than your grounded presence. You can create meaningful connections in moments, not months. You can become the person people turn to and trust, not because you're the loudest or smartest, but because you understand them in ways no one else does. In a world where technology can outthink and outperform us in almost every measurable skill, this one remains untouchable. No machine can replicate the depth of human connection, and whether you're introverted or extroverted, your path to influence is paved with the same bricks: attention, empathy, and understanding. This isn't about changing your nature. It's about awakening a part of yourself you may have neglected. When you learn to sense others, you understand them. When you understand them, you influence them. And when you influence with empathy, you don't need to fight for attention. Your presence speaks for itself. Have you ever wondered, in a world where technology now outpaces us in speed, accuracy, and even creativity, what still makes human beings uniquely valuable? When machines can draft essays, solve problems, analyze vast amounts of data, and even mimic emotional responses, where does that leave us? This isn't just a passing thought. It's a reality we all need to face. Technology is rewriting the rules of how we live and work, but there is one thing it cannot replicate: the depth of genuine human connection. Artificial intelligence can answer your questions, help you brainstorm ideas, even simulate the tone of a caring friend. But it cannot feel the tremor in your voice when you're trying to sound strong while holding back tears. It cannot recognize the lost look in your eyes when you've fallen silent in a room full of people. It cannot sense the contradiction between the words "I'm fine" and the weight sitting in your chest. something only a deeply perceptive human presence can detect. And that, right there, is our final frontier, the domain where human beings are irreplaceable. This capacity we have to truly perceive one another isn't just about being polite, socially skilled, or good with people. It's about emotional intelligence, the ability to be deeply present, to strip away the mental noise and see another person for who they truly are, not just for the roles they play or the masks they wear. It's knowing when to speak and when to let silence do the work. It's feeling the moment when someone doesn't need advice at all. They simply need the comfort of being heard without judgment. It's an invisible force, yet it shapes every relationship, every opportunity, and every turning point in your life. And here's the thing. This ability isn't some nice-to-have quality in today's world. It's essential. Because as our lives become increasingly mediated by screens, notifications, and virtual interactions, our ability to sense and connect deeply is quietly eroding. In a landscape dominated by speed and efficiency, emotional intelligence isn't about competing with machines. It's about transcending them. It's about operating on a plane they can't touch. But this raises an uncomfortable question. Are we truly living in real connection, or are we moving through our days surrounded by people while still feeling lonely? Have you ever stood in a crowded room and felt utterly invisible? Have you ever gone through an entire day of conversations only to realize none of them touched you deeply? If so, you already understand why this conversation matters. Somewhere along the way, between hurried meetings and polite small talk, we've lost a vital capacity: empathy. Not the shallow kind that merely acknowledges someone's situation, but the deep human kind that makes another person feel undeniably seen. This is why, before we go further, I want to offer you something unusual in a world that constantly pushes us to consume and move on: an invitation to pause. Just for a few seconds, put down the urgency, set aside the habit of skimming, and acknowledge your presence in this moment. That pause, tiny as it is, reminds us that true connection begins with being here, fully, not rushing past. Because what sets you apart in this relentless modern tide is not the size of your network, the sharpness of your wit, or the extent of your knowledge, but the depth of your presence. In truth, most people today are tired, not just from work or responsibilities, but from the constant need to perform, to pretend, to act okay. They are tired because no one truly sees them. If you can be the person who offers that rare gift of being seen, you will hold a kind of influence that no title, skill, or tool can match. The remarkable thing about people with high emotional intelligence is that they don't need to be the most talented or the most outspoken. They might not even have all the answers. What they do have is the ability to read the undercurrent of human interaction. They know when to step forward with encouragement and when to create space for someone else to speak. They can shift the energy of a tense meeting without making a grand speech, sometimes with nothing more than a steady, calm gaze. And this ability is not about being a perfect person. It's about being grounded enough in yourself that you can be present for others without losing your balance. Emotional intelligence makes you powerful not through force, but through empathy and presence. In a world where most people are racing to do more, faster, those with this ability choose instead to go deeper, slower, and more meaningfully. Now, while emotional intelligence is essential, it's not the whole picture. Existing alongside it, and equally important, is social intelligence. If emotional intelligence is your ability to understand and regulate your own inner world, social intelligence is your ability to read and navigate the outer world of other people. Emotional intelligence keeps you steady in the storm. Social intelligence helps you steer the ship among other vessels. You could be a master of your own emotional state, calm and self-aware, yet still fail to connect if you don't understand the signals, moods, and needs of those around you. And that's the distinction most people miss. Social intelligence is the ability to pick up on the subtle cues in others, the way someone's eyes dart when they feel unsure, the pause before they answer a question, the micro shift in posture when a topic makes them uncomfortable. It's knowing how to adjust your words, your tone, even your timing to match the moment in a way that builds trust. This trust is not a small thing. In fact, it's the invisible currency that fuels every relationship, both personal and professional? A leader with high social intelligence doesn't just issue instructions. They cultivate a sense of belonging and loyalty. A skilled salesperson with social intelligence doesn't rely on pressure or clever arguments. They listen deeply enough to uncover the unspoken needs of their customer. A partner with social intelligence knows when to speak up, when to step back, and when simply holding someone's hand in silence communicates more than any speech ever could. None of this is about cleverness or charm. It's about sensitivity, observation, and intentionality. Here's the empowering truth. Both emotional and social intelligence are skills. They're not fixed traits you either have or don't have. They can be strengthened every single day through awareness, practice, and reflection. Every conversation you have is an opportunity to read more deeply, listen more fully, and respond more consciously. And over time, these small acts of attention create something extraordinary, an unshakable presence that speaks for itself. You stop having to prove yourself because people can feel who you are before you say a word. The foundation of all this lies in something scientists call the social brain. Our brains didn't evolve just to store facts or calculate problems. They evolved to connect. We are wired, down to the architecture of our neural networks, to understand and synchronize with others. Mirror neurons, for instance, cause you to physically feel another's emotion, to smile when they smile, to tense when they tense, to sink with them into sadness without needing any explanation. This is why a frown across the table can change your mood before you even realize it. It's why isolation hurts, not metaphorically but biologically, activating the same pain centers in the brain as a physical injury. Connection is not a luxury, it's a survival need. And yet, as our communication shifts increasingly to screens, text, and brief digital exchanges, the muscles of our social brain grow weaker. We respond to emojis instead of facial expressions. We react with likes instead of genuine curiosity. We miss the tightening in someone's voice, the heaviness in their sigh, the meaning behind their silence. Over time, we may still know how to reply, but we forget how to truly respond. That's why practicing presence, not just being physically there, but mentally and emotionally engaged, is the first step in reawakening your social intelligence. When you observe not just the words someone says, but the pauses between them, not just their expression, but their breathing and gaze, you activate the ancient parts of your brain designed for deep human connection. As you strengthen this capacity, you'll start noticing patterns, how certain postures signal withdrawal, how a quick change of subject might hide discomfort, how the tone someone uses when they're speaking about themselves reveals more than the words. You won't need to overanalyze, your intuition will sharpen naturally. You'll begin to sense when someone's apology is sincere or when it's simply a formality. You'll understand the emotional undercurrent in a group even when everyone is smiling. And once you can do that, you no longer need to push for influence. You'll have it without asking, because people trust those who truly understand them. There is a form of intelligence that no test score can measure, no resume can display, and no amount of academic theory can fully teach. It cannot be faked through polite gestures or memorized phrases, because its truth is always felt rather than declared. That intelligence is empathy, not the vague sentimental sympathy that pats someone on the shoulder without ever truly entering their world, but the real grounded ability to step into another person's emotional space and remain there with steady presence. Empathy is seeing through their eyes without losing your own perspective, feeling with them without being drowned in their waves. It is choosing to sit quietly in someone else's reality, not to fix, not to judge, but to witness and understand. And in a world overflowing with noise, where voices compete to be heard but so few truly listen, empathy has become the rarest and most valuable currency of human connection. We live in an age of expression without comprehension, where people are quick to share their thoughts but hesitant to pause and feel the weight of what others are not saying. Yet it's in that silent gap between words, where the hidden emotions live, that real relationships are forged. Think of empathy in 3 layers: cognitive, emotional, and compassionate. Cognitive empathy is when you understand, from a logical standpoint, what someone is going through, almost like mapping their emotional terrain without walking it yourself. Emotional empathy runs deeper. It's when you actually feel their feelings in your own body. Your chest tightens at their grief, your heart lifts at their joy. And then there is compassionate empathy, the rarest and most transformative form, when you not only understand and feel, but are moved to take action. Not out of obligation, but because their pain or hope resonates with something human in you that cannot stay still. Empathy, contrary to the fear of many, is not weakness. In fact, it requires profound inner strength. Only when you are anchored in yourself can you step into another's turmoil without being pulled under. Only when you feel safe in your own skin can you open your heart fully to another person's vulnerability. Only when you have humbled your own ego can you resist the urge to interrupt, advise, or steer the conversation back to yourself. And perhaps the most powerful truth of empathy is that it doesn't require agreement. You don't have to validate the correctness of someone's feelings to acknowledge that they are real to them. You don't need to know every detail of someone's life to walk beside them in one difficult moment. You only need to be there, undistracted, without judgment, fully present. In the workplace, empathy is often what sets apart the most respected leaders and colleagues, not the ones who speak the most or hold the highest rank, but the ones people instinctively turn to in moments of crisis because they feel safe. In families, it is empathy that allows a parent to see beyond a child's angry outburst to the fear or hurt beneath. In love, it is empathy that frees you to embrace your partner as they are, not as an idealized version of them. And in your relationship with yourself, empathy is what stops you from becoming your own harshest critic, teaching you instead to say, "I'm doing the best I can, and that's enough for today." The next layer of connection goes beyond empathy into the realm of nonverbal communication, the unspoken language that shapes more of our interactions than we often realize. Studies in communication psychology have shown that while words may carry only a fraction of our emotional meaning, tone of voice, rhythm, volume, and inflection convey far more. And beyond that, our posture, gestures, facial expressions, and even the space we place between ourselves and others speak volumes without a single word. This is why someone can speak sparingly, yet command attention, while another talks endlessly, yet leaves no impact. Nonverbal communication is the raw signal of your true emotional state, and it is nearly impossible to fake for long. To read others deeply, you must learn to listen with your eyes as much as your ears. Every micro-expression, every shift in breathing, every glance toward or away from you is a potential window into what they are truly feeling. But this is not about memorizing a catalog of gestures. It is about developing contextual sensitivity, the skill of interpreting signals in light of the whole situation, the environment, and the unique personality before you. Someone crossing their arms may be defensive, or they may simply be cold. Someone avoiding eye contact might be hiding something, or they might come from a culture where direct eye contact feels disrespectful. The key is to observe without rushing to judgment, letting patterns reveal themselves over time. The most refined communicators practice attunement, the art of matching their own presence to the emotional state of the other person. When someone is grieving, they don't fill the air with empty words. They mirror the stillness, the gravity, the slowness that grief demands. When someone is brimming with excitement, they lean forward, smile more openly, let their own energy rise to meet it. This is not performance, it's resonance. And resonance builds trust faster than persuasion ever could. But attunement begins with you. If your posture is closed, your voice rushed, your gaze distracted, others will sense it immediately. If you carry inner tension or judgment, it will bleed into your nonverbal signals no matter how carefully you choose your words. Alongside empathy and nonverbal awareness stands another pillar of social intelligence: emotional regulation. This is the ability to feel your emotions fully without being ruled by them. In moments of conflict, when tension thickens the air and your instincts urge you to defend, attack, or retreat, emotional regulation is what allows you to pause. It's the moment you create just enough space between stimulus and response to ask yourself, what choice will make this better, not worse? This pause doesn't mean you're suppressing your feelings. It means you're taking responsibility for how they translate into action. Those who can regulate their emotions in heated situations are not only more respected, but more trusted, because their steadiness creates safety for others to open up and de-escalate. This ability is especially crucial in conflict. Too many people see conflict as a battlefield where one side wins and the other loses. But the most enduring relationships, whether professional, romantic, or familial, are not those that avoid conflict. They are those that can move through it with honesty, respect, and care. Real social intelligence in conflict means listening not to counter, but to truly understand. Speaking not to wound, but to clarify. And staying long enough in the discomfort to reach the truth that both sides can stand on. Sometimes this means agreeing to disagree with grace. Other times it means walking away without anger, preserving dignity even when closeness is no longer possible. Either way, conflict becomes not a fracture, but a doorway to deeper understanding when handled with presence and integrity. And then there is influence, the quiet, enduring influence that doesn't need to shout or force compliance. Influence grounded in truth is magnetic. It doesn't rely on manipulation or clever tactics, but on the consistency between what you believe, what you say, and what you do. When people sense that alignment in you, they trust you almost instinctively. They lean in not because you've convinced them with logic, but because your presence makes them want to believe, want to rise, want to act. True influence is not about getting people to agree with you. It's about creating the kind of connection where they feel understood enough to reconsider themselves. At the heart of it all, the common thread running through empathy, nonverbal skill, emotional regulation, conflict mastery, and influence is one thing: presence. Presence is the choice to bring your full attention, your full self, to the person in front of you. It is not thinking about what to say next, or checking your phone, or mentally rehearsing your rebuttal. It is holding space so that another human being feels not just heard, but valued and safe. Presence is rare, and because it is rare, it is powerful. In a world moving faster every year, the person who can slow down enough to be truly present will always stand out. The most encouraging truth is that all of these skills, every single one, can be learned, practiced, and strengthened, no matter where you start. You don't need a perfect personality, years of training, or natural charisma. You need only to begin in the smallest of ways, pausing before you respond in frustration, noticing a friend's eyes when they say they're fine, asking one question more than you usually would, letting silence stretch long enough for the real answer to emerge. Each small act is a brick in the foundation of your social intelligence, and over time, those bricks form something unshakable, a presence that draws others in, a voice that carries weight without shouting, a reputation for being the person people can count on to truly see them. If you knew with absolute certainty that by practicing these skills, by being intentional in your awareness, attunement, empathy, and steadiness, you could become someone others trust, listen to, and respect in any room you walk into, would you start today? The truth is, you can. And if you do, you won't just change how others respond to you. You'll change how you move through the world. You'll stop living by instinct alone and start living by intelligence, awareness, and connection. You'll stop chasing influence and start becoming the kind of person who naturally carries it. And as you do, you'll find that the most extraordinary transformation is not in how others see you, but in how you begin to see them. And perhaps for the first time, how you truly see yourself.